I was managing a high-end hotel in Switzerland. An American couple on their honeymoon checked in and immediately complained about their room's view of the Alps. The husband came to the desk and said, "We paid for a mountain view, but all we see is this giant rocky thing covered in snow. It's blocking the actual view. Can you move us to a room where we can see the real scenery behind it?" I had to explain to him, with a completely straight face, that the giant rocky thing was the Alps. He was not convinced and left a 1-star review. My cousin is a flight attendant. On a flight to Rome, an American passenger rang the call button. When my cousin arrived, the man pointed out the window at the clouds below and asked, "Excuse me, can you tell the pilot to fly a little lower?" My wife has never seen Italy before, and we can't see anything through all these clouds. My cousin had to gently inform him that airplanes have to fly at a certain altitude, and that, unfortunately, she could not control the weather patterns. Over Western Europe for his viewing pleasure, I worked at a pub in Bolway, Berlin. A group of American tourists came in, and one of them, a young guy in a college sweatshirt, confidently ordered a round of Irish car bombs for his friends. The pub went completely silent. The old bartender, a man who had lived through the troubles, slowly put down the glass he was cleaning, looked the kid dead in the eye and said, "Son, you've got 2 choices. You can either leave my pub right now, or you can learn a history lesson the hard way." They left very, very quickly. While backpacking in Thailand, I met an American who was furious at a street vendor. He was yelling, "Why are you charging me in baht? What even is that? Just tell me the price in real money." He then pulled out his phone's calculator and started trying to convert the price himself, but couldn't find Thai baht in his app. He concluded, "This is a scam. You're just making up a currency to rip off tourists." He genuinely believed the US dollar was the only legitimate form of money on the entire planet. I was a guide at the Sun Palace of Versailles in France. An American woman, dripping in designer clothes, kept asking where the royal family but was. I explained the French Revolution and that France is a republic. She looked at me with pity and said, "Oh, you poor things. So you don't have a princess that's so sad. Well, when you get a new one, you should tell her that this wallpaper is terribly outdated. It needs a modern touch. Maybe some nice shiplap?" She was critiquing Marie Antoinette's decor as if she were on an HGTV show. In a grocery store in Norway, I watched an American tourist try to buy a single banana. At the checkout, the cashier weighed it. The tourist threw his hands up in the air and exclaimed, "What is this communism? Why are you weighing my banana? In America, every banana costs the same. It's called freedom. You pay for the banana, not for how fat it is." He then slammed the banana on the counter and stormed out, leaving the cashier and everyone in line completely bewildered. I was working as a waiter in Valencia, Spain, the home of paella. An American family ordered our most traditional wood-fired paella. When I brought it to the table, the father looked at it with disgust. He called me over and said, "Excuse me, but the chef completely burned this. The rice on the bottom is from black and stuck to the pan. This is unacceptable." I tried to explain that the crispy toasted rice at the bottom, the sokarat, is considered the most delicious part. He cut me off saying, "Listen, I'm from Texas. I know barbecue, and this said it burnt. Now, are you going to bring us a new one? Or do I have to speak to your manager about your kitchen's quality control?" My friend is a tour guide at Loch Ness in Scotland. He said the most frustrating part of his job is managing American tourists' expectations. One man on his boat became increasingly angry as the tour went on. Finally, he stood up and confronted my friend, demanding to know when they were going to release the monster. My friend explained that Nessie is a legend, a myth. The tourist exploded. "This is a scam. I paid for the Loch Ness Monster Tour, not the Loch Ness Disappointment Tour." SeaWorld. When you pay to see Shamu, you see Shamu. I want my money back. A friend of mine works for the London Underground. He had to deal with an American tourist who was livid that the tube stopped running around midnight. The tourist demanded a refund for his travel card, screaming, "This is the biggest city in the world. How can it just shut down? New York is the city that never sleeps. London is clearly the city that takes a nap. I have places to be. This is a violation of my rights as a tourist." He seemed to think his vacation plans superseded the city's entire public transport schedule. I overheard this at a cafe in Copenhagen, Denmark. An American was talking to a local Dane. American? I just love all your little fairy tales. Hans Christian Andersen. Right, The Little Mermaid is my favorite. Daenerys, he is a national treasure. American. It's so cool that Disney discovered him and made his stories famous. You guys must be so grateful to them for putting your little country on the map. The Dane's polite smile was so strained, it looked like it was physically painful. I was on a tour of ancient ruins in Cambodia. An American tourist asked the guide, "This is all very impressive, but it looks like it could use a good power wash. And a lot of these statues are missing limbs. Have you guys thought about a GoFundMe? To get them repaired, I'm sure we could get them looking good as new. My nephew is great with 3D text, 3D printing, so he could probably whip up some new arms for that Buddha statue in no time." The guide was speechless. Working the information desk at the Sydney Opera House, a tourist from Texas asked me, "So, is this whole building just for opera? That seems like a huge waste of a perfectly good building. Do you ever have like a good old country music concert? In here, someone like Toby Keith would really liven this place up. You could probably sell a lot more tickets if you played some real music, instead of all that screaming in Italian." In a small fishing village in Portugal, an American couple was staring at the fishermen bringing in their daily catch of sardines. The woman turned to her husband and said, loud enough for everyone to hear, "You look. They catch them with their head still on. That's so gross. Why don't they just catch them the way they come in the cans? All neat and tidy." Her husband nodded sagely, as if she'd just uncovered a major inefficiency in the global fishing industry. I was on a train in Japan when it stopped for $2 minutes longer than scheduled. An American businessman in a suit started pacing the aisle and muttering. Finally, he confronted the conductor. "This is completely unprofessional. A 2+ text, 1-minute delay. In the States, we'd be compensated for this. I'm going to miss my connection." The conductor bowed deeply and apologized profusely. The man's connection was a subway train that ran every $3 minutes from the next station. At a restaurant in Florence, Italy, an American family was trying to order dinner at $5.30 a text per gram. The waiter politely explained that the kitchen didn't open until 7:30 hours, text, p.m. D. The father stood up and announced, "This is ridiculous. We eat at a reasonable hour in America. You're telling me you starve your children until almost $8 at night. That's child abuse. I'm going to report this to the embassy." And he then tried to order a pizza with pineapple and ranch dressing, which was the final straw for the waiter. I was working at a rental car agency at the Dublin airport. An American tourist came to the counter and said, "I've booked a car, but I have one very important question. Can you guarantee me a car where the steering wheel is on the correct side? I don't want one of your weird Irish cars where it's on the wrong side. I need a proper American-style car." I had to spend 10 minutes explaining that all cars in Ireland have the steering wheel on the right, and that he would also have to drive on the left side of the road. He looked terrified. Overheard on a tour bus in Iceland, heading towards a massive glacier. Wife: "Honey, look at all that ice, it's incredible." Husband: "Yeah, but it's a bit of a mess, isn't it? It's all cracked and dirty. You'd think the government would clean it up for the tourists." It looks like a giant freezer that needs defrosting. It's not very professional. A tourist in Amsterdam was looking for the red light district. He stopped a police officer and asked, "Excuse me, officer. I'm looking for the street with all the ladies in the windows. Can you tell me where that is?" The officer gave him directions. The American then asked, "Great. And what time does the show start? Is there an entrance fee or is it free to watch?" He thought it was a scheduled performance, not an actual functioning district. I was in a cafe in Pailete, in Vienna, when an American student asked the waiter for a to-go cup. For his coffee, the waiter explained they preferred guests to enjoy their coffee in the cafe using their ceramic cups. The student got indignant. "But I'm busy. I have things to see." This is so inefficient. How does your economy even function if people are just sitting around drinking coffee all day? In America, time is money. He then poured his coffee into his own water bottle and left. At a tequila distillery near Guadalajara, Mexico, the guide was explaining the process of harvesting the agave plant. An American tourist raised his hand and asked, "This is fascinating, but I have a question about the worm. At what point do you put the worm in the bottle? And do you have like a special worm farm for the tequila worms? Or do you just find them in the dirt?" The guide had to break the news to him that quality tequila never has a worm in it, and that it was mostly a marketing gimmick for cheap mezcal. A woman on a tour of the Scottish Highlands would not stop complaining about the lack of phone service. She told the guide, "How am I supposed to Instagram this if I don't have any bars? You guys are losing out on so much free advertising. You should really install some cell towers out here. I mean, what's the point of having all this beautiful scenery if nobody can see it on their phones in real time?" The idea of just enjoying the moment was completely foreign to her. I was working at a hotel front desk in Berlin. An American guest called down, furious. "There's a man in the room next to me, speaking German very loudly. It's $10 / text PM. Can you tell him to speak English at a reasonable volume?" I tried to explain that this was Germany, and the man was likely in his own home speaking his own language. She replied, "I don't care. I'm a paying guest. This is a hotel, not the United Nations. There should be a rule about speaking foreign languages after $9 text PM. On a beach in Greece, an American tourist was slathering himself in tanning oil. A local man tried to warn him about the strength of the Mediterranean sun, advising him to use sunscreen. The tourist laughed and said, "Don't worry about it, buddy. I'm from Florida. I'm basically immune to the sun. This European sun is probably way weaker than what I'm used to." I saw him the next day, and he was so sunburned he was the color of a boiled lobster. A tourist at the Great Pyramid of Giza asked the guide, "Okay, I get that this is old, but what is it for? Is it like a big pointy office building or a shopping mall? It seems really impractical. There aren't even any windows. The architect who designed this should have been fired." The guide just sighed and said, "It is a tomb, madam." The woman replied, "For who? The architect." In a quiet Buddhist temple in Kyoto, an American tourist's phone went off with a loud, obnoxious ringtone. Instead of silencing it, he answered it and began a set in a loud conversation. "Yeah, I'm in the temple thingy now. It's okay. A lot of gold stuff." "No, you're not interrupting. Nobody's really doing anything. Just sitting around." A monk approached him and bowed, gesturing for him to be quiet. The American just gave him a thumbs up and continued his call. I was on a ferry crossing the English Channel to France. An American man was staring intently at the water. He finally turned to his wife and said, "I don't get it. If England and France are this close, why do they speak different languages? You'd think they would have just agreed on one by now. It seems really inefficient for business. He said it with the absolute certainty of a CEO solving a logistical problem. A tourist in Rome was trying to toss a coin into the Trevi fountain, but was annoyed by the massive crowd. He pushed his way to the front and yelled, "Excuse me, can everyone clear out for a second? I need to get a clean shot for my Instagram story. I'll only be a minute." He seemed genuinely shocked when hundreds of people did not in fact part like the Red Sea for his social media needs.